How's it going, everybody? Bryan, Alvarez, and Dave Meltzer here. Wrestling Observer Radio, August 21st, 2018. Figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. Got a lot of news to get into here today. It is the Raw show.
We do?
Yeah, Raw. Got a lot of follow-up from that pay-per-view.
There was some follow-up in the pay-per-view.
Got the Shield re-debut. We got Roman Reigns doing a long main event for the title. We got Stephanie McMahon getting her arm broken. The Bellas are there. They claim they're baby faces. Lots of stuff happening here. What did you think of the show?
Well, it had some news value to it, so I guess that was good. It felt like there was a lot of filler to it as well. So, but I mean, the big thing was the Shield got back together, and Braun Strowman attempted to cash in and didn't. And it was weird because his whole thing was he wants to meet the guy face to face on even playing field, so he challenges the guy after he's done a 20-minute match, and I don't know. So that's kind of weird, but, it was a Raw show. I thought, good main event. Up until the main event, it's Triple H and Stephanie. No Brock Lesnar.
That's right. Where's Brock Lesnar at?
He went home.
So much for that.
They advertised him. They advertised him as late as yesterday.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they just... what can you do? I mean, they feel no compunction to deliver what they advertise. It's a really weird thing. They're like literally the only wrestling company in the world that operates like that, but they can get away with it. They've trained their fans that what they advertise doesn't matter. So people just go, well, it doesn't matter. So I guess, once you're trained that way, it doesn't matter.
Well, the show opened up with Roman Reigns coming out as champion, and he was absolutely, positively booed out of the building. They're just furious at this guy. Cuts a promo, says, I always keep my promises. Promised I was going to beat Brock, win the title. I did. I promise I'm going to defend the title. I'm going to do it tonight against a guy who also won in Brooklyn and who got injured and never had a chance to defend his title, Finn Balor. So Balor's coming out to accept the match when Corbin comes out. And he says, Finn, you had a lot of nerve trying this after that stunt last night. Says, Finn no-showed SummerSlam, sent the Demon in his place. That's not fair. It's unprofessional. He says Finn is not facing Roman tonight. He's facing Corbin as a human because last night's match doesn't count. So Roman buries Corbin. Says, if I had a match that bad, it sucked that bad, I'd want to forget it too. Corbin says the only reason you won was because Brock was more concerned with Strowman. So finally...
When Roman... The reason Corbin's out there is so Roman can get babyface pops, and he did.
Basically,
when Roman was talking, the crowd stopped booing him.
Well, for the love of God, no matter how much you hate Roman, he's a huge step up from Corbin. So
we're going to get more Corbin on television now as we go forward.
We sure are. But you know what?
New general manager.
Maybe that'll mean he'll be in the ring less, because I'd be fine with that.
What? Another era of heel general manager?
Well, we basically have that. Kurt's out there to be a whipping boy, and Corbin makes all the heel decisions anyway, so anything that's going to keep Baron Corbin out of the ring, I'm okay with. That's my feeling today.
I'm not. I'm so over heel general managers in 2018, and more of it, I don't consider that a good thing. What, you get one bad Baron Corbin match on a show, or average, or whatever, and then you just have the whole theme of the endless heel general manager thing.
Oh, we don't know how long Kurt's vacation is going to last.
Well,
could be back in 3 weeks after Hell in a Cell.
I suppose he could. Yeah, that'd be great.
Anyway, he signed the match. Signed Finn versus Roman, and then signed Corbin against Lashley. So
then we had to have Corbin against Lashley.
Yeah, a match. And
it was too long for those guys.
That's for sure. We got boring chants. We got delete chants. It's a Corbin match. That means he got the heat and used holds. He yelled at the people.
There's nothing wrong with using holds. It's just, it just was, and this was just a nothing. Here's the thing. It's real. It's slow. It's sloppy. It's boring. The people are telling you it's boring. So it's kind of like, it's like everything's building up on each other. So it was kind of like just wasn't a good match.
So Lashley finally cut him off, hit a slam off his shoulders for the pin.
So it was a Dominator twisting him and turning him over. It was actually kind of a cool looking move. So that was interesting. There was a spot where Coach talks about Coach.
Dude, I can't take this much more, Dave. Like my days of listening to the commentators, I just don't know what I'm going to do. It's so bad. And I know it's been bad forever, but like the last couple of days have just really set me off how terrible it is.
You know what's funny is that not all WWE commentary is bad. NXT commentary is great. 205 Live commentary is very good. So it's like Smackdown is not too good. It's kind of like that weird, kind of monotone, boring thing. And Raw, really on Raw, like Michael Cole's just doing Michael Cole. I mean, it's just what it is. Corey Graves still has a quick wit, and Coachman is out there trying to use.
What is he? Is he supposed to be a heel?
Coachman or Corey?
Well, I know Corey's kind of like mostly heel, but what is Coachman supposed to be? A babyface or a heel?
He's supposed to be a heel, but he's just a guy who does like sports metaphors that usually don't make any sense. And then you got Corey with a quick wit trying to shut him down. So in this one, Coachman was going about it's Bobby Lashley and Baron Corbin. So they're doing this match that's really, really slow. And Coach is talking about how these guys both move so good for big men. They move like they're 6'1". I got a bad cough. They move like they're 6'1", 220. They could be on 205 Live. And Corey Graves just goes,
"What?"
That's what he said. They look like they move like they could be on 205 Live, which, like, of all the wrestlers on the roster, I would say that Corbin probably moves the least like a guy on 205 Live, except for, I don't know, Kane or somebody. And Corey Graves just goes, it's not called 220 Live, it's called 205 Live. So he said, but it was just like, yeah, it's like, Coachman's trying to do these sports metaphors and they didn't really work.
So we had Heyman meeting with Kurt. He says Brock wants to invoke his rematch clause, and Kurt says, "Are you kidding me?" And he says, "Yes, Brock will get his rematch, but his contract does not stipulate when, and it's going to be a very, very, very long time before I give it to him." And Paul says, "Well, I'm fine with that. How about way down the road? Perhaps Hell in a Cell. Isn't that like 3 weeks away?"
It's almost just under 4, yeah.
Okay, well, it's not that far away, and Kurt just basically said it'll be a cold day in hell, so doesn't look like that's planned to be the main event of Hell in a Cell, but things could change.
No, I'm sure it's Roman Reigns and Strowman. It's got to be.
Which actually would make sense based on the main event angle.
Yeah, or something. I guess you could do something with the Shield and Strowman and two partners. I guess that could be, if you want to put the Shield together, you could do the Shield against Strowman, Lashley, and Balor, right?
Strowman, Lashley, and Balor, yes.
Yeah. So that would be a unique match. It'd be different.
Corbin's crying to Kurt about what happened the last 2 nights. He's sick of Kurt not giving him what he wants. Kurt says, "It's not my job to give you what you want. I'm supposed to give the WWE Universe what they want." Corbin says, "Well, Stephanie's here tonight. I'm going to tell her about all of this. What do you think about that?" And off he goes. Plug the Australia show. Undertaker versus Triple H for the last time ever is the main event. What was that last match we just saw that was the last time ever?
Which one?
Well, which one was the last one we saw that was the last time ever?
What, Undertaker and Triple H?
Yeah.
Or do you mean the John Cena and wasn't there a John Cena Triple H match at the Greatest Royal Rumble?
God, who did they wrestle? Was it John Cena Triple H?
John Cena wrestled Triple H at the Greatest Royal Rumble in the first match on the show. It was supposed to be like their last match ever. It's
a lot of last match evers coming here.
It was kind of only 2, and they are, and I don't expect we'll ever see another John Cena and Triple H match. Triple H and Undertaker, there's probably no need to see another one of those. He did a good promo. I like his promo.
We'll get to that. First, we had the Riot Squad, Bayley, Sasha, and Ember Moon. So, Bayley was triple team for a long time. We want Sasha chance. She got the hot tag. She's running wild. Ember and Liv end up outside. Ember gives her a suplex on the floor. Ember gives Liv a suplex on the floor. Just want to make sure that's clear. Amber gives Liv a suplex on the floor. Coach says, I think Amber got the worst of that one.
He did say that. I remember that
What
spot.
are you talking about?
Wasn't that that the spot? Let me see. It was actually like really cool. It was a tornado DDT into a suplex on the floor.
Yes.
Like she kind of dove off into a tornado DDT and then turned it into a suplex. And yes, Coachman said, I think Ember got the worst of that. Yes, that was, yeah.
Sasha hits Logan with a meteor off the apron, gets back in the ring. Ruby hits her kick, pins her. It's 2 weeks in a row. Sasha and Bayley, after their big reunion, have been beaten.
That's part of the story.
And then Michael Cole says, well, the Riot Squad had the numbers advantage.
Well, it was 3-on-3.
That's not the numbers advantage. That's when I decided I got to just mute this commentary. It's just killing me. And it didn't get better.
I was trying to be like sarcastic there.
Dude. So then we had the Triple H promo, and this turned into a very good promo. It was a little meandering there in the middle when he's trying to talk about the history of this.
Yeah. I mean, he went a little too far, but he started like, it's like he kind of went off on like how great Shawn Michaels and Undertaker were, and that moment at the end of that WrestleMania match.
2012, the end of the era match. Yeah, 6 years ago. Here we are, still going.
6.5 years ago now.
My favorite part of this promo was he comes out, people are going nuts with these NXT chants. He says, man, that NXT show was great. And then he says...
It was a really good show.
And then he says, SummerSlam took it to a whole new level. And you know the fans are just about to boo him out of the building, so he just steamrolls right through everybody to make sure they don't do it. Gets on this big promo here.
SummerSlam. Okay. SummerSlam wasn't as good as NXT, for sure.
No, it did not take the NXT TakeOver show to a whole new level.
No.
That was ridiculous.
SummerSlam absolutely was not as good as NXT. But SummerSlam, I thought, was a good show.
It was.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was not. I would by no means call it a great show, but it was a good show. I was entertained, for most of the way. I mean, at times, especially late, it was just like, why do these shows have to be so long? But, I mean, it was. I don't want to say it was better than I thought, but it was. I mean, there was nothing I would say negative about that show as far as the show.
No, I'm not burying the show at all. I'm just pointing out when you're Triple H and you come out and this building is chanting for NXT, you're not going to get away with saying that SummerSlam took it to a whole new level.
Well, that's true. You're right, but he kind of has to say that. What's he going to do?
Yes.
He's going to go in there and go like, yeah, we had a really great show on Saturday night, and now we're here.
Well,
it's like he can't
he doesn't
really
have to say that either.
He can't really say that. It's like once you're bringing up the Saturday night show, it's like you got to say something about Sunday, and you can't go and go, well, Sunday wasn't too bad either. You can't really say that either because it's like this whole show, it's like they barely acknowledged the NXT show existed, and it was all about promoting how great SummerSlam was with all these clippings of. I'll tell you what, was interesting to me. I don't know if it's like. Where they show all those like news clippings about Ronda Rousey winning and everything. It's like, I don't know. It's weird to me, like when I see like mainstream stuff, and it's like, I know it's news and Ronda Rousey's celebrity and all that, and it should be covered. I have nothing against coverage of it, but it's weird that it's like covered like, you know what I mean? Like it's covered like she won as opposed to. You know what I mean? It's like if you're mainstream, shouldn't you kind of like be covering it like it is as opposed to like furthering the script? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's really weird to me that you just like, like if you're a reputable news outlet and like she won the title, but it wasn't like she won like a sports contest. And it's like, just kind of like write it like it is as opposed to writing it like it's scripted, like just. Oh, I can't really fathom that. I don't know. I guess that, yeah, I don't know. I don't get it.
Well, are you expecting them to write Ronda Rousey wins fake belt in Performance Sunday?
No, but there's ways to write it where you're writing it like, she was, it's part of like the whole deal as opposed to like, treating it as equivalent to a UFC championship. It's not the same thing.
Well, that's it's weird.
If you're covering like a movie, Okay, let's say you're doing a review on the movie. You don't like treat like the scene, like you explain like the movie, you know what I mean? And this is this, you know, and all that. You don't cover it like, you know, this guy won this fight in the movie. And that's like the headline, like it was a real fight. You just go as part of the movie, blah, 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 blah. And this was part of the narrative and this is what they were going for or whatever. You don't just, you know, I don't know. It's like I'm looking at these headlines and it's like, you know, say it's a good show, it's a good performance, whatever. But it's just weird to me. I guess it's just how it's covered, but it's, it just feels, it feels like fake, I guess. Fake news coverage, you know, like, I don't know. I don't think that like you should be, you know, you can cover it, but you got to talk about it like it is and like explain what it is. Like like I said, like you're covering, whether it's a movie or you're covering a show or you're covering a worked sporting event where the result is part of the story, but it's not like she won the Olympic bronze medal in or anything close to that.
Well, 40 years ago when newspapers had coverage of professional wrestling matches, did you feel the same way?
When they covered it, they usually did it that way. They usually they made it very clear what they were doing. I mean, it's like if you go way, way, way back to like the 20s, yes. If you're talking about the coverage in the 70s, you usually got those one paragraph things where they just gave the results really quick. I mean, as far as like those real short things, I mean, they didn't do those kind of articles. It was just a really short thing. When they did articles, the articles were always, you know, basically trying to talk about, you know, that it's a performance and things like that. I mean, the articles wrote it as, like if you look at articles on big wrestling cards, like the real big cards, they wrote the stories like they were performances. They didn't write the stories like...
Well, hold on. This is from the New York Times here, January 19, 1971. San Martino loses before 21,106 fans. A record crowd of 21,106 saw Bruno San Martino loses.
Okay. That's like but that's like the 4-paragraph story. I'm talking about like when you're doing the big story. And even in that, you know, it's like, they would just do that. It was just very... New York Times, did New York Times do that?
Yeah, I can read you the whole thing right here. I got the whole story.
Because New York Times almost would rarely cover that stuff. It was always like the Daily News, you know, where they would do those stories.
Well, crowd.
I guess with Bruno losing the championship, that was different.
Ivan Koloff, 298 pounds of the Soviet Union, pinned the 34-year-old Italian strong boy in 14 minutes, 55 seconds of the exhibition. There you go. Talk about how he won his belt in May 1963, defeated Buddy Rogers.
Well, that's all part of the story. But right there, exhibition, says it right there.
Well, it says he successfully defended it 110 times. Doesn't mention an exhibition there. And then they have all the results.
You don't have to have, you say exhibition 10 times, you only say it once. Once you say exhibition, you're saying what it is. That's fine.
I'm sure at some point in those articles about Ronda Rousey, they mentioned it wasn't real.
Oh, I'm sure some of them do, but I was just looking at the way that, and then again, some of those things may also be like work too, because like, I remember they would show the things about, you know, like what was the one where it was a really bad show and they changed the headlines, like, you know, controversy at the thing, and they tried to make it like the controversy because the show was so bad, and they presented on WWE television like the controversy was that the Nakamura AJ Styles match, you know, because of a low blow or something like that, or whatever it was that they did in that one match where they, you know, it was like, I remember like on those ones, they actually like changed the entire, you know, they changed the headline. They used the headline to explain this is about Nakamura and Styles, and it was actually a headline about how the card wasn't any good.
Well, anyway, back to the show here.
So that's okay. I mean, whether, you know, because that's a review of a performance. You know, that's a completely different thing. I don't know. I was just looking at that stuff, and it's just like, you know, she did win the championship, but it's not, you know, I don't know. I guess you could say it's historic in the sense that, you know, it's Ronda Rousey winning. I mean, it is, but I guess just how it's written.
Anyway, Dean Ambrose versus Dolph Ziggler. Ambrose's first match since December. And Corey explained to us when this match started that Dean Ambrose is as loyal as any man on the earth.
He's like a dog?
I think it's pretty clear he's turning at some point down the road here. I don't think soon, but...
Well, no, you didn't set the Shield up for a turn next week.
No, they got to go for a while, but
Yeah, and I think that it makes, like, I have thought that the right thing to do is to turn Dean Ambrose, but absolutely not right now, because you want that Shield run, because there's interest and money in a Shield run, and when that runs its course, one of them's got to turn, and I just figured Dean's the one, just because it doesn't look like they're ever going to turn Roman, and they, Seth had his long run, and there's no point in turning Seth right now.
So Dean got drop kicked off the apron. Dolph worked him over. They did all their near falls, and finally he gets sent outside, and Drew goes after him. Seth gets in Drew's face. Drew says, "I dare you to hit me," so Seth hits him. Dolph makes a save. They double team Seth. Dean makes a save for Seth. Seth hits the ring just so he can do a dive in a match he's not in. This is not a DQ. And then Ambrose...
he never hit Ziggler.
And then Ambrose hit Dolph with the DDT for the pin.
Dirty deeds, yeah.
Story of the match is that Dean Ambrose came back with a brand new wrestling game.
And a new physique. They kept saying it over and over again.
Yeah. Wasn't that new. He put on a little bit of weight. It was like he came back looking like Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, it was a little bit different. Yeah, he was a little bit bigger.
He actually looked like what he looked like when he actually debuted for the Shield. Then there was that period where it was like he became a vegan and he just lost like 50 pounds, it seemed. And now he's back to where he was before.
So maybe he's eating meat again? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know. He was seriously, this is not like I'm trying to do a euphemism for performance-enhancing drugs or anything like that. There was a period where he got so skinny. And it wasn't like he came off drugs. It was like he decided he wasn't going to eat anymore. He was so frail looking. And then he got back to where... maybe not frail, but he looked like he was a runner, not a wrestler.
Swimmer.
I don't know if I'd even say a swimmer.
Swimmer
has the big shoulders and the small waist. He did not have that. He was just skinny.
Nah, he didn't look like a runner. Runners, because he was still... It's not like he looked like he was under 200. He looked like he was, 205 or something, 210. But, yeah, he's a little bigger. The whole story is he's changed his game, which I guess is cool. He's been out for whatever it is, 8 months. So do something different, he changed his look. I think that's good. You go away for a while, you come back with a different look. You don't be the same person.
We had a Braun meeting with Finn, and he says, "I refuse to cash in from behind. I'm the monster among men. I do things face to face. I'm telling your face, good luck tonight." They're pushing this face to face thing so hard that, of course, my immediate reaction is, well, he's going to cash in like a coward and turn heel. But, of course, they ain't going to work on Roman Reigns, so I hope that's not their plan.
Yeah.
Drifter came out, does his spiel. Kurt Hawkins interrupts, does his comedy gimmick saying, "Let's do a match and end my 218-match losing streak." Drifter tells him to hit the bricks. So Kurt starts to leave, but then he gets halfway up the ramp, and he turns around and fires up and says, "Quit hiding behind your guitar. I'm challenging you to a match right here and now." So they do a match. "Let's go Hawkins" chants. He sells for a bit, fires up. Drifter cuts him off, drift away, 1, 2, 3. 0 and 219 for Kurt Hawkins is the story.
Yeah, well, they do that story usually on Main Event every week. So we got to see it. Great.
Titus met with Apollo and Dana Brooke. They appear to be flirting, but deny it. She claims she has a secret to beating AOP. She does not have the secret to beating AOP. There is a...
She has no secret. There was no secret at all. They just beat Apollo Crews with the last chapter in a match. It was just a match. And then they said this was the greatest match AOP's had. And it's like, it was just a match.
It was definitely not the greatest match that AOP has had.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe on the main roster because they haven't had any matches, but definitely not in their career.
Not even on the main roster. This was really just a match.
So then we have this segment with Stephanie. She comes out. She has all the women surrounding the ring, including the Bellas. Everybody looks so awkward. Got the whole red carpet in there. She does this pre-rehearsed fake corporate speech, plugs the all-women's pay-per-view. She's so proud of the Raw Women's title match. She's so proud of Ronda Rousey. Says she molded her in her likeness. Without her, Ronda wouldn't even be in WWE. Ronda's her protege. She calls her out. As Ronda's on her way out, Coach explains, "You know, much of what Stephanie said was true." Like, dude.
Isn't the announcer supposed to, like, tell
Are you a
that, like,
heel? Are you an idiot? Like, what are you? I don't even get this character. So, Ronda comes out, says, this is not about you. It's about all the women in WWE. Why are these girls at ringside? They should be in the ring. They're not below us. Get in the ring. So they all get in the ring. Steph says, this is not behavior befitting a champion. Ronda says, you're going to tell me about being a champion? Does this big speech about how this is about all the women in the company, not just about me. Puts over the various girls. She says on a show she's not wrestling on, I will not be Brock Lesnar. I will defend my title every week.
She ain't going to be doing that.
No. Steph says, I know you're just the Ronda that wants to break everybody's arms. Shows footage of her breaking Alexa's arm. Tells the girls Ronda just wants to break their arms as well. Ronda says, no, I only want to break the arms of the ones who deserve it. Grabs Stephanie, gives her a throw, puts her in the arm bar. She rolls outside. The Riot Squad tends to Stephanie. All of the baby faces, which in storyline includes the Bellas, hand Ronda the belt. So there you go. Wonder how they're going to do this Nikki thing.
I'm not worried about it. They got plenty of time. They got till the end of October, so they got plenty of time.
The B team come out for a promo. Goofy comedy promo. First we have Scott Dawson versus Bo Dallas. So they go right to holds.
So that's nothing. Just 2-minute match.
Bo made a comeback. Ada Cradle DDT got pinned. Then Axel grabs the mic. Axel challenges Dash to a match. The announcers laugh like it's a joke. They go to commercial. They come back. There's the match. It's Dash versus Axel. Dash works him over. Axel makes a comeback. Hits a version of a gory bomb.
Gory special falling backwards.
And that was the finish. And then Bo and Axel, after losing 2 straight matches, cut a promo saying they better believe that they're still the Raw Tag Team Champions. Barely got any reaction because it was hardly a babyface thing to brag about. That was a segment.
Yeah.
Renee with Roman.
So that means that we're going to get more matches with Revival.
Yes.
If we were going to do that, well, I guess they did a fluke finish the first time. I mean, it was a pin, but it was a fluke. So, yeah, I guess so. Why not? I mean, why not?
So Renee asks Roman if he has reservations about putting the belt on the line. He says no. Steph is getting her arm iced. Kurt shows up. She chews him out. Corbin chews him out. Finally, she says, you know, Kurt, this job is wearing on you. You need time off. You need a vacation. So she puts Corbin in charge, new acting GM of Raw. Kurt is not permanently out of the job. He's just on a vacation. So I guess he's just off for a few weeks. I don't know. And then Roman Reigns, Finn Balor for the title. This match was a very good main event. This is the thing about this match. It's Finn Balor facing Roman Reigns the day after Roman Reigns, after 3 years, finally beat Brock Lesnar for the belt. There's a spot in this match where Finn Balor hits a final cut. It's not the drop kick out of the corner. It's not the double foot stomp. It's a final cut.
The GTR.
These fans believed that he was going to pin Roman Reigns with a final cut and win the WWE title.
I don't think they really believed it, but they did.
Dude, they went crazy for that near fall.
They did go crazy for the near fall, but that doesn't mean that they actually believed it.
Oh, dude, they're counting along. They're going nuts. I couldn't believe the reaction for some of these things at the end. There was an asshole chant, because I guess there was a fan that went crazy in the crowd, started crotch chopping security. They kicked him out. Everyone started chanting asshole. Oh, there's security.
A lot of I was told that in those B team matches, the crowd was like paying no attention. They were doing their wave, and in this one, I mean, there was a lot of spots in this match where you could see that the crowd's like looking backwards and not paying attention to the match. But they did have big pops at certain points too. So that was good for them.
There was also a great moment where they love to do these shots of the crowd going crazy, crowd doing whatever. So they cut to the crowd the moment that Roman hit a Superman punch out of nowhere, and the guy they cut to just looks so disgusted and unhappy with what's going on. It was such a perfectly timed moment. So finally, Braun's music hits. Roman is distracted. Balor hits a dropkick in the corner, goes up top for the double foot stomp, misses. Roman spears him for the pin. So now Braun is going to cash in. Gets in the ring, boots Roman in the gut, tells the ref he's cashing in. Suddenly, the Shield music hits. Ambrose and Seth come out in their old Shield gear. Cole notes the bell is not rung. The Shield surrounds the ring. The fans chant, "Holy shit." They jump in the ring. 3-on-1, they beat up Braun Strowman. Roman hits a Superman punch. Ambrose chop blocks him. Seth super kicks him. He ends up outside. They clear the table, do a couple teases, and finally give Strowman the big Shield powerbomb through the table. Crowd's cheering like crazy, even though Strowman didn't cash in. And that's how the show went off the air. So a very, very hot last half hour of this show.
Yeah, the last 25 minutes were really good. So we'll see. The rating should be up, day after. This should probably be in theory, this should probably be the last big rating of the year because, after this week, I know that there was the MTV Awards, but it's still the day after SummerSlam. But, after the next couple of weeks, we get into football season and then everything's going to go down.
So tomorrow on SmackDown, we've got Becky explaining her behavior. We have got
that sounds like she went heel.
It does. We'll see.
If that thing actually was a heel turn, I thought that they were so on with the audience by doing that. But if they actually believed that was a heel turn, then it's like they're way off on the audience, like unimaginably off.
Especially since they booked a storyline where that's the reaction that they should have got.
That's what I mean. It's like they booked a storyline where she was going to get a giant pop for that spot, and she did. And we'll see tomorrow. We'll see what she says. But if she does a heel turn, if that was a heel turn, man, I don't know. I was thinking I'll discuss that on Wednesday. We'll see how they play.
We'll see what they do. We got the Bludgeon Brothers.
Yeah, well, Rowan's hurt.
Yeah, so there could be a title change tomorrow. It's New Day versus Bludgeon Brothers no DQ match.
Yeah.
And then the Jeff Hardy-Randy Orton match. So I guess Jeff Hardy not written out with that stupid thing on the apron.
No, as far as we know, he's been advertised. Of course, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. So Rowan, they think it's a torn bicep from catching one of those guys in one of those spots, but it's not certain what the injury is.
All right, a couple of other news notes here. We have got LA Park and Rush. Looks to not be happening at the anniversary show.
Yeah, so Friday night, I was actually watching this when you called. So Friday night, it was, they had a 6-man tag, and it was Rush Cavernario and Bestia Del Ring, who's Rush's father, against Volador, Matt Taven, and I think Caristico. I could be wrong on the third guy. But anyway, it ended up where this was another great idea. So Volador and they do a DQ finish, and Volador and Rush are challenging each other. And then Rush goes to the fans. This is like after they poured water on each other and they're in this big brawl. Who do you want me to face? Do you want me to face, put my hair up against Volador, or do you want me to put my hair against LA Park? So everybody says LA Park. So it's like, well, that didn't work.
Things happen.
And then Matt Taven jumped in, said he wanted a tag match with Cavernario. So they're going to announce the main event on Wednesday, it looks like. So it looks like it's going to be something with those four guys and no LA Park. So that's what it looks like. And then Rush was on Twitter, and I guess he made a reference to the idea that, well, all the fans on social media say they want LA Park, but they're not paying for tickets to go to the show.
Oh, yeah?
That's what he says, yeah. Yeah, maybe it's that, I can't even explain. But, I mean, they built that Park matchup since May, I guess. You know, I don't know the backstory, but I mean, it is true. The AAA people kept saying it wasn't going to happen all the way through. So I don't know why they built up this match. Like they built up this big match, like I mean, it's like the biggest match in a couple of years, and then they don't deliver it. It's so weird. I guess maybe they'll deliver it next year.
God, who knows?
You could, I mean, maybe the year. I mean, like Atlantis and Ultimo Guerrero years ago. I mean, they built that thing up for months, and then they didn't deliver. I mean, they did a deal where it was like a deal with La Sombra and Volador, and the idea was that they would have a tag match earlier, and then like whoever lost or whoever won, actually, I guess, was then going to be put in the mask match in the main event. So everybody thought it was going to be Atlantis and Ultimo Guerrero. Had been built up forever. They did $1 million gate, or nearly $1 million gate. I forget the exact number, but it was the largest gate in the history of the company. And then it was Volador and Sombra out there, and the people just crapped on it. You talk about like what happened in some Roman Reigns matches. The people and Volador and Sombra were out there just killing each other. Just like it was Dive City. It was just like, we're going to do the most highlight match that you've ever seen in your life. And the people didn't care. They just booed them like crazy. So then the next year they come back, and they did do Atlantis and Ultimo Guerrero. They did do $1 million gate. And so they just did the next year. So they got 2 giant gates instead of 1. But this year the ticket prices aren't jacked up, so they're not going to be getting, I mean, it could be worse. They could like put a 4-way mask match. Of course, that's what AAA's doing on Saturday with Pentagon. It's Pentagon, El Hijo del Fantasma, Psycho Clown, and LA Park, where one of those 4 guys is losing his mask. So that's this weekend's show, and it's real interesting. So the one really interesting thing is head to head with the anniversary show in Mexico City will be an Impact taping.
That's right.
And so what if Pentagon and Phoenix are on the Impact taping, which they probably will be? I think CMLL is going to be absolutely furious. So we'll see what happens.
All right, I got a bunch of questions here, so let's jump into it. This person says, if the last 2 G1s were the best tournament of its kind in terms of match quality, do you think All Japan's World Cup Open, or World Open in 1975 was the best tournament in terms of overall star power?
Yes. I think so. That was... that tournament was so ridiculously loaded with stars, the 75 World Open. I think that it was 72 or 73. They did a PWF. Okay, there was a PWF World Champion, or whatever it was, PWF Championship tournament when they created the PWF title. So I think this is 72 or 73, where it was 8 guys and like 7 Hall of Famers, and the only one that wasn't a Hall of Famer was Wilbur Snyder, who's right on the borderline anyway. So that was a real big one. And I think that there was an international title tournament, I'm thinking around 81. I actually can look this up. That were, those were like the ones that will pop into my mind as far as singles tournaments when it comes to like real star power. So let me see. So we're talking, those are all Japan tournaments, both. So all Japan tournaments, let's look at this. Single title, let's see. They have World League in here. Miscellaneous events, let's see if they got that. Yeah, 1975 World Open Championship. So you had Baba, Abdul the Butcher, Dory Funk Jr., Dick Murdoch, Jumbo Tsuruta, Rusher Kimura, Horst Hoffman, Destroyer, Hiro Matsuda, Mighty Inoue, Don Leo Jonathan, Pat O'Connor, Harley Race, Ken Mantell, Baron Von Raschke, Kentaro Oki, Great Kusatsu, Tim Woods, Dusty Rhodes, Anton Giesing. So it's 20 guys, and yeah, that's pretty damn loaded when it comes, because you got, that's because Rusher Kimura, this one, he was like top star of the IWE. Horst Hoffman was the top guy in Europe at the time. Destroyer, Jumbo, Dory, I mean, those guys, Murdoch, those were all big stars. Inoue was still a big star. Matsuda, big star. O'Connor, O'Connor's one of the greatest of all time. Jonathan's one of the greatest big men of all time. Harley, Baron von Raschke was Oki, biggest star in Korean history. Dusty, Giesink, who finished in last place, by the way, was a gold medalist in judo in the Olympics. Okay, so then there was a singles titles tournament. So let's see. The international tournament was Dory Funk Jr., Tiger Taguchi, Abdullah, Jumbo Tsuruta, Baba, Terry Funk, Jack Briscoe, and Bruiser Brody. So that's pretty loaded too. I mean, except for Taguchi, every one of these guys is not just a Hall of Famer, but first ballot Hall of Famer pretty much. Dory Jr., Abdullah, I mean, they're no-brainer Hall of Famers. They're in one. You can't even question any of those guys. And then there's the, did they have, let me see if they got the, this is singles title tournament. So this would be, they don't have that here. Yeah, these are different ones. But, yeah, I don't have it right here, but I remember it was like the PWF tournament was like Bruno, Baba, Bobo Brazil, might be Kaniski and Terry Funk. Whatever it was, that was a loaded one too. So, yeah, those would be the three that come to mind as far as like star power tournaments. But that, that World League 70, the World Open 75 was a loaded tournament. But the World Open tournament, it's like okay, so that was one of those tournaments where they just kind of did it, but they didn't really do it. It's like they announced all these names, but it's not like everyone wrestled everyone like G1 where it's all laid out. It was just a bunch of random matches and everything. Whereas that international tournament that I talked about, which was single elimination, I mean, that was like a real tournament. The PWF tournament was also one that I'm not sure exactly how legit that was as far as like a real tournament. There was the first IWGP tournament was that New Japan did. So it's like, let me think about this. That's the first IWGP tournament, like 83. I think that was, let me see, IWGP League. Okay, here we go. So that was Hulk Hogan, Inoki, Andre the Giant, John Studd, Killer Khan, Rusher Kimura, Akira Maeda, Connect. This one, Connect was the top star in Mexico. Otto Vance, who was the top star in Europe, and Enrique Vieira, who was another top star in Mexico. So that's pretty big as far as just, all stars. The next year, you had Inoki, Andre, Fujinami, Choshu, Dick Murdoch, Masa Saito, Adrian Adonis, Mass Superstar, Ken Patera, John Quinn, Otto Vance, and John Studd. So that was a big one, too. So, yeah, those are some of the bigger ones.
Alrighty, this person says, Dave said on Twitter to ask him this question. If Vince Russo mistakenly emailed you instead of Mike Johnson, and Big John Gaburik immediately called you and said the news would sink them, how would Dave have handled it?
Man, I don't know unless it happened. Luckily, I was never put in that position. I would have to, this would be a really tough call. I know if it I know how I would handle it, but I wouldn't be happy the way I would handle it. And what I handle it is I would report it. And the reason I would report it was because I'm sure that they would say that if you report it, if you don't report it, we'll get rid of Russo. Because they have to, at that point they would have to, right? And Russo was fired it was like 2 weeks later when Russo was fired. It wasn't like he was fired the next day when it first came out. It was, because Dixie didn't want to fire Russo. Everyone else in the company knew that they had to. And finally, I think that, I forgot how it was all handled, but I think Russo just did something really stupid again. And so then they finally fired him. But it's like if they said, "Oh, we're going to fire Russo now," it's kind of like I'm going to believe you. You know what I mean? So it'd be really a suck position to put in, because if Spike drops the company might not get another TV station. They might go out of business. People would lose their jobs. It really sucks. But that's a big enough news story that, I might have to wait a week, or a couple days. But I would have to report it. I mean, there's no way around it. I don't know if I'd have to report that instant, but I would have to report it. I couldn't not, but I would feel really bad about that decision. So, but there's not there's not a chance that I would not report it. If I had that thing, actually, I would probably report it immediately now that I think about it, because I had the evidence right there when they were going to, it's not the same thing when they were going to lose I did give them time to, on one of those stories. One of the stories, the first one, I didn't report it right away because I didn't have the secondary. I did have a secondary corroboration, but it was off the record, but I couldn't go with it. I actually had to wait till somebody else broke that story. It was the one they got kicked off Spike, which was about, what was that, like just a couple weeks after, or maybe actually just I think it was just a couple days after, actually, when I heard it, but it was a couple weeks after when I reported it. The second one, the Destination America, it was like 6 or 7 days later that I actually reported it, but there was no doubt I was going to report it. So it was just a question of the date of the next Observer that came out. So yeah. I would report it, but I would sure feel bad about doing so. But I don't think there's any other choice. There is no choice. I'd have to. That's just my job. It would suck. But yeah, I don't know. We'll never know what Mike Johnson would have done. Or maybe we do know. Maybe he said. Although he thinks that his thing had nothing to do with it. But whatever. That's what he thinks.
This person here says, for someone who is such an important part of the industry, I feel like I don't know much about Vince McMahon Sr. How was he perceived by other promoters and the wrestlers who worked for him?
Oh, in a million different ways by a million different people. You had people who just thought he was a great guy. You had people who didn't think he was a great guy. He was respected by the other promoters, but there was absolutely, there were periods where other promoters didn't like him. They all had periods where they didn't get along with each other. There's definitely, in the 60s when Buddy Rogers was champion, Vince Sr. nearly destroyed the NWA because they got the title to Rogers, who was, a super drawing card and the guy who probably should be champion. And then McMahon was the booker, and McMahon kept him for 15, 16 dates a month in his own territory. And, Rogers would work St. Louis and some of the other places, but a lot of the territories never got Rogers, to the point where, Kiniski went to Amarillo used Kiniski as champion. Georgia created their own world title, I think. There was Carl Gotch was named world champion somewhere. Stampede, I think, may have used Kiniski as well. There were places they couldn't get dates on Rogers, so they had to create their own world champion. So the alliance nearly, was in shambles. It was an absolute shambles until, they got the belt off of Buddy Rogers to Luthez. And that was a pain to do that too, because, who knows what was and wasn't real. I've talked to Thez about this in detail, and he thinks he thinks that every time that Buddy Rogers got hurt, it was a work to keep him from losing to him, because they had a couple of different dates where Thez was supposed to beat Rogers, and before every one of them he got hurt. And he may be right. That's what he always told me, but I don't know that that's. The one where Big Bill Miller and Carl Gotch broke Buddy Rogers' hand, they slammed the door on his hand when I guess Carl confronted Buddy over God only knows what, and Buddy, tried to escape, run away, and try to get out a door, and Bill Miller slammed the door on his hand and broke his hand. So Buddy's out of action, and he didn't drop the title. That one was real. It went to court and everything. There were assault charges filed and everything like that. So that was real. The broken ankle in the match with Killer Kowalski, that was right before Thez was going to beat him again. I have no idea if that was real. So then finally, they got the match in Toronto. And that's even Mushnick went. Everybody went. And it was just they went to Buddy. Vince was there. I think Vince was there too, Vince Sr. And the story is that that's where Thez does we can do it the hard way or easy way deal. But Mushnick went to Buddy and just goes like, if you don't lose, he had a $25,000 deposit, which in 1963 that was a lot of money, and Mushnick just said, look, if you don't lose, we're giving your $25,000 to charity. I mean, that's it. You're going to have to lose tonight. And he goes, I can give the $25,000 to Vince, for you, afterwards or whatever it was. And it was like, no, don't give it to Vince. I'll get it from you. I don't, so that's when like Sam realized that Buddy didn't trust Vince's father either. But, Bruno had his ups and downs with him. He was a promoter. He, the magazines, had their ups and downs with him. He was very powerful, because he had the Madison Square Garden, and he grossed that grossed more revenue than any other building. It was the number one building in the country. So, he was respected when, then he quit the Alliance. But in the 70s, when they rejoined the NWA, even though they never used the NWA, or almost never used the NWA champion, there were exceptions, but very rarely used the NWA champion, Vince still got one of the votes, even though he never even used the champion. So, he was still one of the, guys on the championship committee. So, mixed feelings on him. What I will say is that Vince's father was really, really good at presenting a big show on television, in the sense of, I'm not talking about a big show on television, but building up a big show on television, like the garden shows or whatever it was, the way they used the interviews and the way the aura of the show was and things like that. Like the matches themselves, the cards themselves were really not that good compared to other parts of the country. They were really slow and, kind of boring compared to almost everywhere. But the aura was that it was big time. They presented it like it was big time. I mean, he was really good at that aspect of the wrestling game. Roy Shire was really good at that too, compared to like other places where they might have had better cards, but they didn't build the cards up as well.
This person here says, aside from WWE in 2011, have any other non-Mexican companies ever taped in Mexico?
There's been, like, I saw like some TNA stuff or Impact stuff recently from like Tijuana, where Jeremy Borash went down, but it wouldn't be like a full-fledged taping, but they did tape parts of the show, or like a match here or something like that, actually a lot. But as far as like what they're doing, like a full-fledged taping, the only thing that I remember was, WCW never did it. So the only one I remember would be, when WWE did those tapings, I think they did a run of Smackdown at Arena Ciudad. Was it Arena Ciudad? I think it was. Whatever it is, how many years ago? That's the only one I can remember.
This person here says, if Andre the Giant had pulled out of the main event at WrestleMania...
Okay. New Japan did do tapings at El Toreo in the 80s. Because I remember like Inoki and Tiger Jeet Singh and Fujinami and Kinect and Tiger Mask and Fishman, that show at El Toreo, seeing that on New Japan television.
Spurs says, if Andre the Giant had pulled out of the main event at WrestleMania 3, did WWE have a storyline in their pocket for Orndorff taking over, and how close was he to being in the match?
It was the backup plan, but I don't know how... it wasn't like it was ever gonna... again, as long as Andre could walk to the ring, he was going to do the match. So, it wasn't like it was a close call, but... there was, what if he got hurt? Andre was in really bad shape by this point. But as far as, I'm sure they had something in their minds. I don't know exactly what.
This person here says, let's assume Brock signs with the UFC for one fight, the Cormier fight. At what amount does Brock become diminishing returns? In other words, at what monetary figure does he cost more than that one single UFC pay-per-view generates? ignoring for the moment factors like future buys or merchandise, or, as I suspect, that monetary figure always was going to be a loss and beside the point?
So, what do you figure? 1 million buys?
I don't know. I don't know what he's making.
Well, let's say a million buys at $70. So we'll say they got a little more than half. So let's say it's 40 million. So with all the costs and everything like that, I would say if Brock makes more than about 25 million, it's not worth it. So that would be about the number, which he's not making close to 25 million.
Yeah, he's not making anywhere near 25 million.
He may maybe make 7 or 8 million, or who knows what. Maybe even more. But put it this way, he's not a lost leader. They're not losing money on using Brock at all. They're not even, it ain't even close.
They're not doing 300,000 buys for that show.
Oh, hell no. They did 300,000 buys for the last show with TJ Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt in the main event. They're doing it, I mean, the last Brock show did just over 1 million when he fought Mark Hunt. But that was a more loaded show than this one, than the one will probably be. But this is probably a stronger marquee main event than was on that show. So, yeah, I think 1 million's a good prediction. Could be more.
One more here. Actually, this question we kind of have an answer to already. So, wondering about the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. They just stripped Hiromu, right?
They stripped Hiromu. They're doing a 4-man tournament over the next on the next tour. They're going to do Kushida and Will Ospreay on the Kobe show, which I believe is the 23rd of September. They're going to do Kushida and Bushi. Will Ospreay and Marty Scurll at the Long Beach show on the 30th, and then the finals will be October 8th at Sumo Hall. So it's a 4-man tournament. I wish that they'd done an 8-man tournament. I mean, it's kind of like, if you got 4 guys, why is Bushi one of them? It's like, I mean, it's like, I almost feel like that, do something, it's like you've got this vacant tournament and you've got so many guys that are great. Like, Dragon Lee and Volador, and, get some of those guys in and do like a real, like the best of the Super Juniors, whoever, look at all the different guys that they got, even Taguchi, because, I mean, in a tournament like that, Taguchi's a hell of a worker, him or, even Show. Goddamn, Show's great too. And it's like with 4, I just feel like that, because it's not in there. It's almost like it's almost reminding me of like WWE where stuff happens in life and it wasn't stuff they scripted. And instead of like adjusting on the fly, they just are like, whatever. It's just like, this is, you should take this opportunity that you have this vacant junior title to elevate the title and have like this really cool tournament as opposed to just, 4-guy tournament. I mean, if they didn't have any talent, if there's no good junior heavyweight talent, that's one thing, but they're loaded with talent. They could bring in guys for the first time, whoever, like, I don't know, like a Desmond Xavier, although Desmond Xavier's been working for Dragon Gate, so it's not really, he may not be the right guy, but there's just so many guys that you can use that were already in the Super Junior tournament that you could get a killer 8-man tournament. Look at the guys in the Battle of Los Angeles, some of those foreign guys that are small. There's just, God, bring in some guys from England that they've never had over there before. Let them, kind of shine. They're going to be hungry.
Well, on that note, everybody, we're going to wrap it up here for today. The back issue of The Observer is up on the front page. We'll have a new issue out on Wednesday. Got a lot of big shows coming up, and as noted on Twitter, Lance is back, and he'll be doing a Figure 4 Daily on Friday. So look forward to that. Yep, everyone's very excited about that. A lot of big stuff coming up, everybody, so check it out, and that is it.
I want to do a show with Lance.
Well, we'll set it up.
Okay.
All right, so a lot of stuff to check out, everybody. That's it. We'll talk to you again after a while.